Good evening, and thank you for joining us. U.S. President Donald Trump has left China following a three-day visit. In the concluding hours of their meeting, President Xi Jinping and Trump met at Zhongnan High. Xi describes the visit as historic, saying the two sides had reached a milestone consensus. Trump, meanwhile, says both sides had agreed to work towards the swift reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. After the clock chimed 11, President Xi Jinping received Donald Trump at Yingtai in Zhongnan High, located next to the Forbidden City in Beijing. Zhongnan High, literally translated as Middle and Southern Seas, is synonymous with China's seat of power as the primary residence of President Xi and the headquarters of the central government. Introducing the Imperial Garden, Xi notes the trees here are 200 to 300 years old. Inviting Trump to touch a 280-year-old tree, which dates back to the Qing dynasty.
Nice place. Nice place. I like it. I like this place. I could get used to this.
She says the history in the surrounding helps elevate one's perspective and sense of vision. When asked by Trump if any other world leaders visited the gardens, she says Vladimir Putin had been here. The pair then held a smaller format meeting with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in attendance. The Chinese delegation included Secretary of the Secretariat of the Chinese Communist Party, Tai Chi, Foreign Minister Wang Yi, and Vice Premier He Lifeng. President Xi says this place has hosted generations of Chinese leaders, including Mao Zedong, Zhou Enlai, Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, and Hu Jintao, and he's chosen this place especially to reciprocate the hospitality extended to him in 2017 at Mar-a-Lago. Xi says he instructed staff to prepare the seeds of Chinese rose or yueji as a gift for Trump after the U.S. president expressed interest in the flowers during the garden tour. Xi also described Trump's visit this time as historic and landmark, having achieved constructive and strategic bilateral relations and yielded multiple collaborative results. Trump, meanwhile, underscores their friendship, noting he will arrange the same high-level reception for Xi's September state visit.
We've made some fantastic trade deals, great for both countries. He's a man I respect greatly. Become really a friend. We've known each other now 11 years, almost 12 years. That's a long time. And we've settled a lot of different problems that other people wouldn't have been able to settle. And the relationship is a very strong one.
Trump reveals they discussed the Middle East situation.
We did discuss Iran. We feel very similar to Iran. We want that to end. We don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. We want the straits open. We're closing it now. I mean, they closed it, and we closed it on top of them. But we want the straits open, and we want them to get it ended because it's a crazy thing there.
China's top leaders reserved the highly secure grounds of Zhongnan High for only their closest allies and carefully selected dignitaries. This also marks the first time in 12 years a U.S. president has been invited to Zhongnan High. Last time was Barack Obama in 2014. At around 2:30 p.m., Trump boarded Air Force One at Beijing Capital International Airport, concluding his three-day visit and departed for Washington. At today's Chinese Foreign Ministry briefing, spokesperson Guo Jiakun says the two countries have come to an understanding on bilateral and global issues. He highlights mutual benefit and win-win cooperation in trade and commerce, and to maintain China's calls on all parties to jointly promote the open, inclusive, universally beneficial, and good-oriented development of artificial intelligence. He also mentions China's stance on global energy security.
China stands ready to work with all sides to ensure global energy security and keep global industrial and supply chains stable. The pressing task is to restore peace and stability in the Gulf and Middle East region.
The Independent Committee's inquiry looking into Taipo's Wanfo court fire uploaded 5 reports from the Police, Competition Commission, and the Independent Commission Against Corruption on the bid rigging situation among Hong Kong's renovation projects. Testimony from police witnesses revealed that triad groups were not only directly involved but also operated behind the scenes through intermediaries. When there was a need for someone to do the dirty work, triads would resort not only to violence but also infiltration, bribery, and intimidation. Anti-graft body ICAC meanwhile says building maintenance is a highly lucrative market where project supervision relies heavily on consultants and contractors, exposing clear structural flaws. Many property owners lack the professional knowledge needed to oversee such projects. A report from the Competition Commission cited a case where a consultant allegedly brought triad members to beat up another prospective contract bidder, forcing that contractor to withdraw from the tender. The Hong Kong economy grows by 5.9% year-on-year in the first quarter, accelerating from the 4% growth in the preceding quarter. The government's growth forecast for the whole year of 2026 remains unchanged at 2.5 to 3.5%. On a seasonally adjusted quarter-to-quarter comparison, real GDP rises notably by 2.9%. Total exports of goods grows markedly by 23.7% year-on-year in real terms in the first quarter, underpinned by sustained global demand for AI-related electronic products and buoyant regional trade flows in Asia. Looking ahead, the government says Hong Kong's economic outlook remains broadly resilient. The impacts of the Middle East conflict on the Hong Kong economy have so far been limited, but a further escalation or persistence of tensions could pose downside risks to growth and upside risks to inflation. Ukraine officials claim at least 9 people were killed on Thursday when Russian attacks leveled an apartment building in Kyiv. This while a drone attack at the central Russian city of Ryazan kills 3 and injured 12 people. Danny Zhou again.
Russia on Thursday unleashed a third straight day of drone and missile attacks in Ukraine, demolishing an apartment building in Kiev, killing 9 residents.
A really difficult day here in Kyiv. Russia launched a barrage of drones and missiles across Ukraine for a third consecutive day, with Kyiv being the target in the most latest attack. It caused part of a residential building to completely collapse. You can see that behind me. Emergency workers are still trying to uncover bodies from underneath the rubble.
Wisps of smoke rose from the collapsed 9-story apartment block, where emergency workers dug onto concrete slabs and took people away on stretchers. All 18 apartments in the building were destroyed, officials say, and among the dead was a 12-year-old girl. Another 20 people were said to be missing. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky claims in his nightly video address the missile used to destroy the building was built in the second quarter of 2026, meaning Russia is still importing components and equipment to produce missiles in circumvention of global sanctions. Meanwhile, the United Nations tells reporters a drone attack in Ukraine's Dnipro has hit a World Food Programme truck, leaving a driver injured.
Yesterday, in Dnipro, Ukraine, a clearly marked World Food Programme truck delivering food to frontline communities was struck by a drone, injuring the driver. WFP reports that more than 80 attacks have affected its vehicles, warehouses, and assets of local partners in Ukraine over the past 2 years.
Danny Zhou, TVB News.
The Cuban government confirms it has met with the American CIA chief John Ratcliffe. Ratcliffe reportedly told intelligence officials in Cuba the U.S. is prepared to engage in economic security issues if Cuba makes fundamental changes. This while a U.S. Department of Justice official says Washington plans to indict Cuba's former president, Raul Castro, likely over the shoot-down of planes operated by Brothers to the Rescue in 1996. The island nation suffered a major power failure on Thursday, with no electricity available to Cuba's eastern provinces. The state-run electric union did not give an estimate for how long it would take to restore power. The previous day, Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel had described the energy situation as tense, as supplies of oil delivered by a Russian vessel in late March ran out. Efforts to unseat British Prime Minister Keir Starmer from within his own party breaks into open rebellion Thursday, with one potential rival resigning from the cabinet and two others positioning themselves for a future leadership challenge. Gloria Feng has more.
Britain's Health Secretary Wes Streeting became the first senior minister to quit Thursday in what is seen as a precursor to challenging Prime Minister Keir Starmer's leadership. He says he has lost confidence in Starmer, who should not serve out the rest of his term.
Do you want to be our next Prime Minister?
Wes Streeting said that he was resigning, even though he gave credit to the Prime Minister for his efforts on the international stage, particularly with Iran. Domestically, he identified that he had issues. He said that the country was looking for vision and got a vacuum. He said that they were looking for direction and got drift.
Starmer is under pressure to step down after disastrous results for his Labour Party last week in local and regional elections, cementing doubts among many party members about Starmer's judgment, vision, and leadership ability. A brutal indictment on a leader who returned Labour to power in July 2024 after 14 years in opposition. There are some party members who still support the Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister has my full support, and I'm really sorry to see Wes go. He has been a brilliant Health Secretary. He's done a fantastic job, and we see that today with the NHS waiting list numbers that are really encouraging and what people want to see. But I fundamentally disagree with the position he's taken. I'm sad that he's gone, but I think this is now a chance for us to pause, take a breath as a party, and try and draw a line under all of this.
If Wes Streeting does challenge Keir Starmer, it's almost certain, I think, that there will be other challengers enter the fray, provided they can get the support of 81 MPs themselves. So, in effect, a civil war opens up within a Labour Party that's supposed to be governing us at present. It's an extraordinary state of affairs, given it's less than 2 years since Keir Starmer won one of Labour's greatest election victories ever, their third greatest election victory ever. He's got a huge parliamentary majority. He's got more than 400 MPs, and yet his prime ministership may be on the brink of disintegration.
Other ministers positioning themselves for the top job include Angela Rayner, the former Deputy Prime Minister, and Andy Burnham, popular mayor of Manchester. Gloria Feng, TVB News.
Cambodian telecom scams are so outrageous that even former Prime Minister Hun Sen encountered a text scam message. Hun did not fall for it and shared his experience to warn the public to be vigilant. In response to recent crackdowns by authorities, criminal syndicates have resorted to using small operations to evade detection. TVB News reports on the situation in Cambodia, with Timothy Lee having more.
In Cambodia, telecom scam parks are not necessarily located in large factories. This apartment building in Phnom Penh was previously raided by local police. Several units were found to be involved in telecom scam. TVB News followed the Cambodian police into a telecom scam facility. The scammers' chat logs show they have a detailed division of labor and a complete script. They used artificial intelligence to generate images of beautiful women, hoping to lure victims into a love trap. A common element in each romance is discussing money, demanding victims transfer funds or buy virtual currency. If questioned, the scammers resort to emotional blackmail, leaving messages such as "Don't you love me anymore?" The victims come from all over the world, but most of the scammers are Chinese, and the scammers have translation software installed on their computers. Mr. Poon is the editor-in-chief of a Chinese-language media outlet in Cambodia. He points out the authorities have significantly increased their efforts to combat telecom fraud since the beginning of this year. Poon says many large scam parks have been shut down, but these scammers still survived. They find a more secluded place, form teams of a dozen or so people, and continue to commit telecom scamming, making it difficult for law enforcement agencies in combating telecom scam. Telecom scam groups are becoming smaller, but the harm they cause has not diminished. A few months ago, Poon helped a Hong Kong woman in her 30s escape from a telecom scam operation and safely return to Hong Kong. She had been lured to Cambodia to work an online scam, where she was abused. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
M+ and Centre Pompidou Art Museum from France have entered into a multi-year partnership across several areas, including curatorial research and exhibition development. This as a series of jointly developed art exhibitions will be staged at M+ starting next year. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Cultural exchange between Hong Kong and France reached its latest milestone with the development of a multi-year strategic partnership between M+ and the Contemporary Art Museum of Centre Pompidou. Attendees at the signing ceremony signifying the start of this cross-continental collaboration included Consul General of France in Hong Kong, Christophe Drouot. Highlights of this international partnership of museums include a joint exhibition presented at both museums, joint curatorial research, as well as co-commissions of artwork and collection exchange. Open to the public in 1977, Centre Pompidou is a multidisciplinary center that houses a public library, a musical center, as well as Europe's largest modern art museum, the Musée National d'Art Moderne. While the Parisian Museum complex is currently closed to the public owing to renovation works, its president said its spirit is still very much alive.
Of course, the historic building, and you are completely right, is in metamorphosis. But we want to share the values and the spirit of the Centre Pompidou. It's not why Hong Kong, it's why M+ in Hong Kong. And I think, of course, Hong Kong is in a fantastic moment of energy. Around the world, there are not so many institutions which are, what we say in French, multidisciplinaire.
M+ said it will launch research initiatives with Centre Pompidou to foster deeper exchange and dialogue between Hong Kong and French curators, researchers, and museum professionals in a bid to strengthen the city's role as a cultural bridge between East and West. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching and have a great weekend.